So, first of all, congratulations on your spectacular show. My God, what an amazing turnout. Female turnout, especially at your art show.
I think in life there are certain unseen and unheard universal laws that permeate. They're very intelligent, much more intelligent than we are. Not wait another 18 years for my next show. Enjoyed doing that. And I'm the kind of person when I do something, I'm fully in it.
Now, so I have to also realize that there is like a mix of both vibrancy and a certain level of melancholy in your paintings. Is that right when I say that? Do you perceive women today, the female energy today? I mean, you think women have evolved? Do you think we still have, limitations, constraints when you live in a country like India? Because there are two diverse worlds. One is the privileged lot and one is the not so privileged lot.
I wanted to. I mean, we have a history of talking to each other. Yeah.
So, first of all, congratulations on your spectacular show. My God, what an amazing turnout. I was just looking at the images and I said, it's just such a incorrect notion when women say that, when people say rather that women don't support women. So, the female turnout, especially at your art show, dispels that fact. So, kudos to you. And obviously, everybody wants to know what took you 18 years, Leila. That is really a long time.
I think in life, there are certain unseen and unheard universal laws that permeate. They're very intelligent, much more intelligent than we are, and they decipher and know when things are to happen. In my case, I was meant to get on the other journey for 18 years and then arrive at this because you know I mean, of course, I will not wait another 18 years for my next show. But I joined my husband's business. I got very creatively involved, and we were traveling all over the world, sourcing, all our hand-picked pieces for Furniture Wala. And I really enjoyed doing that. And I'm the kind of person when I do something, I'm fully in it.
And I try to get an extension of, it's another aspect of creativity, what you were doing with your husband.
Yes, also traveling, meeting people, seeing, getting influenced by different art forms. That influenced me a lot. My husband is very into art, and so we visit a lot of museums. We go to galleries. We do all that, and then of course I was trying to raise a family, and when your child is young, there are a lot of demands, and especially for the mother till a certain age. So I didn't want to neglect that because I asked to have him and I had to give a lot of myself to him. So my hands were full. I was also not in Bombay for too long. So with art, you have to, artists, they close their doors and then they are lost. And then we really figured.
What is amazing is this. So, how did the inspiration come, Rel? I was looking at these, visuals, the photographs that the team had sent me, and I was like enthralled. I also realized that, okay, this is my perception. I'm not the expert here, that there is like a mix of both vibrancy and a certain level of melancholy in your paintings. Is that uh, right when I say that?
I think so. Firstly, thank you. I'm happy that you connected with the work and felt it. Um, my works have been quite melancholic over the years. I like to dig deep. I like to go beneath the layers. I like to, I think, conceal more than I reveal. Um, the vibrancy, in fact, there's been an explosion of color in my work. This series for the first time. I never used so much color. At the most, I would use reds, which came out in my work in the form of a rose in the past, or maybe a butterfly, or maybe just a splash of it, but never per color per se. And I think this was my point where I have broken free.
Yeah.
I have
That's
broken.
what I love the, concept untamed heart, where you've broken free from prior notions and barriers. So would you say this is also an extension of your personality, where maybe you have broken free from, preconceived notions, barriers, societal expectations, and live life on your terms?
You basically firstly have to break free from yourself.
Okay.
So that itself took, I think that's why the 18 years were meant to be, where I could very, very, you know, uh, truthfully, um, portray what I felt. Art is a very honest expression. There can be no lies in art. Um, like something like acting, film, all these have a lot of aids. You can take 10 retakes, the editor comes in, the music comes in, the aid of visual, the aid of this, that. Um, but in art, it's not that. In fact, that is what really has challenged me about art. And that's why it drew me deeper. Um, yeah, so my 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 dialogue had to be very, very true. And I think that's what, especially, for someone like me who didn't have to sell to live, I find I'm very grateful for that.
There is an authenticity that comes across in your work because you're not playing to the gallery, to so to speak.
No, no. I could have done works that in the past have sold, and I could have continued with that series but for me, success was not just about selling. I mean, I could have done that because people expected a certain body of work from me, which I knew in the past would sell very, very soon. But for me, I had changed, I've changed, and I've evolved. And unless I show that in my work, then I'm just a repetition of myself otherwise. And I didn't want that.
You know,
I wanted to be very, very honest. And I wanted to touch a chord. I wanted people to look at my work, and they should be that instant where they respond physically and emotionally to the work.
that I also noticed, again, this is my perception, that there's a lot of focus on the eyes. I've noticed in your paintings, and there's an intensity in those eyes. I mean, to me, that also was something that I noticed. Very dramatic, very intense eyes, which just captivate your attention. So, is that perhaps your way of telling people to look more deeply and not just look at the surface level? I mean, that's how I perceived it.
Yeah, so I've been for many years now doing a series on the face.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I'm the when you meet people, what you see is not what they are.
Yeah.
That to me has been extremely a fascinating subject. And what is it? What is this mask they put on? Do they know even what they're doing? What are the things the peculiarities of a face? What are they trying to get rid of? What are they trying to? This whole duality is what I wanted to bring out. The eyes never lie, and sometimes they do, and then I try, but the only way to unravel is through the eye. So that's what is my search, and I've done quite a few works in this series. I used to do a lot of masks in my earlier. They would appear in my work, but now this series was more the face, and um, the unseen in a face.
So, I've also noticed that, you you use a lot of Ganeshas because that's a very inherent part of your works. So, can you tell me a little bit about how did this whole connection with Lord Ganesha happen? Was there any kind of childhood memory or an association? Because even to me, he's like a very happy god. There's a very positive energy when you look at Ganesha. So, how did this interest, was it spiritual? Because I also know that your paintings are also very spiritual in form.
Um, yes. So I have I have gone very inward. From I think the time when I have always been inward, but I think when COVID happened and we were all at home, and the grief and the loss that I saw around me, made me made me. It was like a labyrinth within me. I was searching very deep. And coming to the point and answering your question on Ganesh, there's something I haven't spoken about, but I must tell you. Um, I was in a very famous jeweler's workshop
Okay.
in Jaipur, and he was a very close friend of mine. He's no more. And I saw um, a simple Ganesh in gold leaf, very simply put, just on the wall. And the workers were all looking at that and working. And that was enough to inspire them to work in the heat. They had it there in front of him. So Ganesh is a lord that I find very fascinating, and he's very ubiquitous because he's everywhere. You see him in neon signs, in packages. You see him in the back of trucks. You see him in homes, especially in the front of the home, in different communities, non-Indians, whites. I've seen it in their homes. So I found this whole fascination with Ganesh and its form very intriguing. And Ganesh entered my work in 2012. That's why you will see some of my works in this show from 2014. um, and then Ganesh has stayed with me for many years now, and so even the later years, I up to now, I'm continuing with Ganesh. But Ganesh to me is not an idol. Ganesh to me is not a god with the limitations of his physical self. Ganesh to me is is an essence. He's limitless, and it it basically he embodied my search for for the mystical, for divinity, and yeah.
So, you also, I notice you focus a lot on the female form and the feminine energy. That's also a very inherent part of your works. So, how do you perceive the, women today, the female energy today? I mean, do you think women have evolved? Do you think we still have, limitations, constraints when you live in a country like India? Because there are two diverse worlds. One is the privileged lot, and one is the not so privileged lot who still have their challenges. So there is a kind of a dichotomy of sorts. And, India being the vast country that it is, not everybody leads the kind of privileged life. So
Yeah.
do you kind of, draw from these vast experiences in your work?
Women have also always been very central in my work. I find women generally very morally correct, and they are most single parents in the world today are women. Women are capable of um, handling their careers and keeping their home, and nurturing and loving and taking care of their parents. And I find that very fascinating about women. They are very strong, but of very often and mostly not validated,
Yeah. Mm.
um, not applauded. They work. They are just quietly at the back, uh, leading with their torch, and that moved me a lot. Um, so women have been very central in my work, and I that's why they come in my work very often. And yes, I speak as a woman, and you know I like to I like to donate to causes which involve women working and trying to make ends meet, because there are many sad stories out there.
So, do you say, would you say the women in your life, you come from a, background and a family where the women are very strong, iconic, whether it's your cousins, your mom. your aunts, they've all done different things with their life. To what extent have they influenced your work or your art?
A great deal, a great deal. In the women in my family are very strong. They've kept the families together with their love and their kindness and their forgiveness and their lack of selfishness. So, my mother knew before I knew I was going to be an artist.
Yeah.
And it was her encouragement and instilling a sense of confidence in me that, no, you are good. Please pursue it. Overconfidence is not good. I'm so glad she didn't make me think I'm Leonardo, Da Vinci when I was 5 years old, or I mean 10 years old. But but she instilled enough in me that made me have a sense of belief in myself because I definitely had something to say, and I pursued it because of her push.
You all told me, I remember in our previous conversation that, you grew up in a very culturally rich background. I mean, you had artists, you had politicians, you had different kinds of people walking through your home. So, do you remember any kind of artistic conversations or maybe your first association with art outside of your own experimentation that maybe left an indelible impression on you?
I remember as kids, we would go to, with my parents, to uh, Adi and Parmeshwar Godrej's house. They were good friends of my parents. And I was extremely awestruck by, Mrs. Parmeshwar Godrej's taste in art, in her home. Those were one of the early influences. Anjali La Menon, her melancholy quality in her work always touched me. Um, I, these are some of the early. My parents were very artistic, very very ahead of their time. My father's movies are considered cult movies today. The women are ahead of their time. Their dressing is ahead of their time. The music is ahead of their time. So I was surrounded by all this modernism, and hence I think which is why I maybe that is seen in my work, I hope, because these were the influences. We had artists. My parents have collected a lot of art, um but but all a sense of what they liked. It wasn't about buying art as an investment, or we're not a business family. We're a very artistic family, all everyone, so that influenced me a great deal.
That's
And
interesting because it's a question that I often ask people. You know, do you think today, given the fact that there's so much of awareness about art, you have art shows, you have art exhibitions, artists themselves have become celebrities. I mean, people who've not really come from, celebrity backgrounds. So do you think people today buy art for art's sake or because it's fashionable to flaunt a certain artist or because it's a good investment? How do you see the trend today?
I think it's a mixed bag. um but there are few people who buy art for art's sake. uh that segment is very small. I think a lot of people buy art as an investment. But I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Or matching it to suit their home.
Right, right. That happens a lot. But what's most important is, one should cultivate a sense of what you truly like and what you don't like. There's no harm in buying art as an investment. It's great. You're supporting the artist, the cause, the art houses. But buy it because you love it, because it's going to be hanging on your wall. Buy
Because it resonates with you. Yeah.
it resonates with you. In that way, a lot of artists will get a chance, because otherwise, if only masters are going to be picked up and only the top 10 artists are going to be bought because they've been told it's a good investment and only for that sake, then a lot of contemporaries do not get a chance. And I think the contemporaries are going to be, that's why a lot of good art languishes and a lot of artists stop painting, because,
They probably don't know how to promote themselves. Also, like you said,
so
Leila, you had a very valid point. See, you come from a a privileged background, so you're not really worried about the commercial aspect and you do it for the love of it. But what happens to, in today's times where you have to really put yourself out there for an ordinary artist to be known, to be recognized, do you think that, there's a sense of total commercialism that has been associated with art and looking at art purely for art's sake, that whole element has been lost somewhere along the way?
Um, I mean, see, good art, if promoted well, will always be there to stay. Yes, but I feel, you know, I feel, see, it's also the end person, like the buyer. If the buyer buys art that they like and they give a chance to unknown artists, then then it's like a cycle. Then galleries will give them a chance. So it's sort of, but I think first, it's a part of galleries to show it. Otherwise, people don't get a chance to see, and so it's like an entanglement, between the two. Yes, artists today need to promote themselves because there's too much happening for people to take. They need to take notice of their work. But I think people should people who love art should think out of the box. Should really focus on what they like, so that they can cultivate their own taste, and in turn give artists a chance to um flourish. I mean, in terms of my work, I also have to work equally hard. Just because I have a lineage, I've been exhibiting and selling my work now since 2000. So that's a long time, 25 years. So people are not going to pay for my art because I happen to be
Yeah.
at a good place. I've had to work. I've had to promote myself as well, and I and but I that's why I try, and the onus on me is more. But so I try and be very, very truthful and honest to my work, and yes.
Also, Laila, going back, I remember when we had a conversation a while back, you had mentioned about, there was a time when you were working on nudes, you were painting nudes, and your father was very supportive because he understood it was a creative form. What was the perception those days, when you actually started doing this? Because in India, there is still a sense of we are embarrassed, we are still inhibited when it comes to accepting our own bodies or seeing the nude form, whether it's in a movie, you know, or anywhere else, or even, images. So, and going back to, the past when you actually started it out, what were the perceptions then? And do you think, people have changed their approach towards how they perceive nudes today?
Well, when I started painting nudes, it was in the late 90s. And in fact, that's why I went to the Slade School of Fine Art in London, because I wanted to study from the nude. The body fascinated me and was present in my work for many years. My first solo show were mainly nude.
Yeah.
I was told, "Are you crazy? You won't sell a single work." Uh, but I said, that wasn't my, it was about the art and it was about my expression. I've never, I've never conformed to what was expected of me as an artist, as someone, or as how I should dress, how I should portray myself. As long as there's no, there's no duality. As long as you see the same person. So yeah, but I went ahead and did the show, and in fact, it was commercially quite, it did quite well, which I was surprised, considering what I did here. So yeah, things are more open now, but not as open as it should be. There are still shackles there, and because the human body is beautiful, and if it's portrayed without offending anybody in an artistic way, the way in films nudity is shown. If it's done because it's you can see it's done in an artistic way, or it's done is fine. if it's being projected as art, I mean, not in terms of just for shock value.
Yeah.
That's not something I conform with at all. I feel it should be done because of the necessity of the artist to show it, not to shock or to offend, not to gather eyeballs because it's a bold subject and suddenly people will make a remark. It should be because the artist truly has.
So do you really see yourself coming up with another nude collection, or is that a phase that kind of over for you as an artist?
No, I don't think it's over because when I see the human body, I still am extremely moved and
Yes.
I have a very emotional reaction. I don't know in which way it will come out, but for now, I I am you know I'm I'm still I the path I'm on and the series I'm working on still continues, and because there is more to say. I'm moving. I'm I'm seeking to go towards formlessness. That's actually what I'm seeking to, because it's very difficult to project something without simply. It's very difficult to project things simply, and I think that's when, because the biggest challenge for an artist is when to stop.
Yeah.
In the past, seen a lot of my works. I look at them and I find I have overworked them, and for me, they don't. I don't connect with them at all. And now, and there's some works of mine that I still connect with when I look back, and I felt, yeah, that there's something there, but no, in this work there's nothing because I overworked it. I was trying to say too many things in one work.
So how long did it take you to work on this new collection of yours, Della? And also, it is also in a way a very lonely process, right? Because it's just you and your easel and you and your paintings. So do you like disconnect? And is it easy to do that? You have a husband, you have a child, you have a home to manage. So how do you do this? Do you find time? Do you move away? Do you lock yourself in your studio? And just trying to understand the process.
Yeah, my studio is not in my home.
Okay.
I'm happy about, because I can disconnect then. I wouldn't have been able to do that, especially because of my family. And so I have my timings, and it's not easy to keep that balance. That's why I waited till my son became 10 years old. Now he's more independent. He understands art. Sometimes he comes to the studio and he dabbles. I like him to do that, and he enjoys himself. Yeah, I'm lost. Because I've created my own world there, and I'm extremely happy in that world. I'm not lonely. I don't feel alone because I have my art, and this is what I encourage my son. I said, uh, he's a good chess player, so I say, chess will always be your friend. Art will always be your friend. You will not need anyone. And, uh, or a book will always be your friend. So do not ever give up on these things. And, um, it's my soul expression. And I feel very grateful that it didn't leave me. It could have, because a lot of people, they've been passionate about things at some point and then it leaves them because they get entangled in other things. But I'm very grateful and happy that this has taken place, and I just hope I keep growing as an artist.
So who do you turn to? Who are the people that you turn to whose opinion matters to you? When you finish your work, is there somebody you first show it to gauge their reactions, their opinions?
Um, my husband, he's brutal in his
And I'm sure that's important to have that perspective as well, right?
because my father was like that.
Okay.
Never he wouldn't hang a piece of art of mine just because it was mine.
Okay. Wow. All right.
He liked it, and he would tell me, there's something here. I think I will, but and so I'd when I finished a series of work, I would show it all to him, and I would say, would you want one? And he said, yeah, I would want one, and then I'd let him have that as a gift. My my husband is like that. In fact, he was the last person I sent my catalog to. Yeah. I was very afraid. I really was, because he's extremely honest and wouldn't. He would just say it as it is, not thinking, and he would do it at any time. It could be my show, it could be, So I really have grown up with that because of my father and now Farhan. So I think that's very important. That's very important.
So where do you see, yeah, sorry, where do you see yourself now? What is your future plan? Are you working? Hopefully, like you said, you're not going to take another 18 years to come up with your next collection.
No,
So are you
no.
working on something? What is the whole plan? What can we hope to expect from you next?
Well, I I'm I don't know. I'm not much of a planner, I must say. But when I feel something very deep, I will. But I'm working full time now, so uh, there'll be a show. But I feel that between solo shows, there should be some time. Otherwise, there's nothing new to say. You're just a repetition. I don't want that. Uh, I want to be able to say something. Um, you know, something more. Because the end is to enrich the viewer. For me, once I finish my work, it belongs to the world. I don't get too attached with it. Of course, in the beginning, it was definitely very difficult to part, but I think I've come to that now. I'm I also want to come out with a coffee table book on my phone,
Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
because he was such a visually, such a you know larger than life personality.
So I will book with illustrations and artworks by you, paintings by you.
Well, I don't know about that, but definitely his images, and that's something that has been close to me for a long time, and that is something I want to do, and I hope to do that very soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Laila. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, and as always, so nice to talk.
Same here. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.